If you own a home in Sunnyvale, pay close attention because what's happening right now could shift your property value by 10 to 20% over the next few years. Not because of interest rates, not because of the stock market, because Sunnyvale is quietly executing one of the most dramatic urban transformations in Silicon Valley history. Now, while everyone's been watching these bigger cities around it, like San Jose, San Francisco, and Oakland, Sunnyvale has been relatively quietly moving. And most people, including long-time homeowners, have absolutely no idea how far along it is. Now, I've lived in the Bay Area for the last 40 years. I've watched this city evolve block by block because what's happening right now is different, and I want to break it down for you. Spencer Su here. Now, I've been selling Silicon Valley real estate for years now, and our team last year alone did over $85 million in production, which is the top 0.5% of this country. So we have a pretty good idea what is happening here in Silicon Valley. But I want to be clear, this video isn't a sales pitch. It's what I tell a neighbor who asks me what's really going on in the city. What's the good and the bad? Because the gap between that's publicly reported and known versus what's actually on the ground is enormous. So we're gonna close that gap today. So what's actually happening? There is a two-city reality. Here's the frame you need to understand about Sunnyvale right now, because you have essentially two complete different cities emerging within the same zip codes. Let's kind of break it down. City 1, which is North Sunnyvale, because this is Tech Campus Central. You got LinkedIn, Google, Amazon, Meta. Every major tech company here has always been here and actively expanding. City number 2, the El Camino Real and downtown corridor. This area is being physically rebuilt from the ground up, especially if all those buildings are so old out there. And the two cities are feeding each other in ways that are directly pushing home prices higher for the entire city itself. Let's talk about the Cityline development in downtown alone. That covers 36 acres in the downtown core with over 1 million square foot of new office space, hundreds of residential units, and new retail, all next to that historic Murphy Avenue. Because here's the number that floored me when I first saw it though. Databricks, based in San Francisco, one of the most valuable AI companies in the world, just leased 455,000 square foot here. 2 office buildings at 200 and 250 West Washington Avenue, completely filled. CrowdStrike took the other building, both 100% leased. That's not suburban office space, that's major city level tenancy, and it happened in downtown Sunnyvale. You may have seen those signs as you walk around because you're like, wow, there's so much infrastructure here, but who's gonna be the one taking this in? That's the thing when it comes to these large complexes, that it may sit for a while, but that's because they've been quietly behind the scenes figuring out leases and getting these things furnished. That's not something that occurs overnight. Number 2, here's the current state of the neighborhood. What downtown Sunnyvale actually looks like today. Let me tell you what downtown Sunnyvale actually is right now because it continues to be pretty underrated. Everybody knows about Santana Row, downtown Mountain View, Palo Alto, but Murphy Avenue continues to do well. They got great restaurants, cafes, bars, boutique shops that line that charming pedestrian street where you can't even drive through anymore. It actually feels like more of a historic type of downtown, which, trust me, is harder to pull off than it sounds in Silicon Valley. Now, the farmers market runs here at Murphy in Washington, rain or shine, year round. You can walk from there, go grab dish trash from Mediterranean, grab coffee, go have a good time at an indoor mini golf and craft beer bar at Tipsy Putt. You got the AMC Theater steps right away. You got the Target and the Whole Foods. There's so many different options. Now, here is what most people don't know about the area. The city voted unanimously to make Murphy Avenue a permanent pedestrian mall. Construction is underway where completion is expected very soon. You're gonna have handrails, bike parking, accessible paths, new landscaping, a full physical upgrade. Now, this particular thing isn't a plan. It's actively being built right now. Now, the pain points that still exist, because I do want to be honest with you, downtown isn't perfect yet. Parking can be relatively frustrating, especially on weekends, because they have one which is a flat area, but there's only so much parking there. On the other hand, they have some garages. They're a little bit of a distance away for you to actually make the walk. Now, the construction of pedestrian mall means part of Murphy are going to continue to be disrupted. But then again, here's the thing about cities and transitions. This disruption is the opportunity. You want to buy ahead of the finish line, not after. Now, let's talk about the next 1 to 2 years because this is the real physical change. Let's first talk about the downtown, Murphy Avenue. It's going to become a fully realized pedestrian mall. No more cars, wider paths, permanent outdoor seating, that proper European-style street experience. Cityline Phase 2 finishes. So you have the Block 6 at McKinley and Murphy, plus the Matilda parcel. The Martin, the new Cityline apartment building, is already 60% occupied after just a few months. That absorption rate tells you exactly how strong residential demand, especially for rentals, is in Sunnyvale. Now on the food and culture side, I want to tell you a few things that are about to occur. Zareem's, that cult following, that Pakistani Indian restaurant from Mountain View in Palo Alto, it's finally open on Murphy Avenue after years of delay. Mood's Wine Bar, which relocated from Palo Alto, it has been already open and drawing its existing fans. May House, which is a Turkish restaurant, is open here as well. Arwa, a Yemeni coffee spot in North Sunnyvale, Tasman and Fair Oaks, just launched. These are not just random openings. These are operators of this kind of caliber that follow those opportunities. And then there's the Treehouse Hotel at 1100 North Matilda, where the brand's first US location with Valley Goat, the restaurant from Top Chef winner Stephanie Izzard. Plus, I personally went there a few months ago to have a client celebration. That was a very hidden place that most people would never know unless they make the drive out there. Plus, you got the Backer Cafe, Bluestone Lane Coffee, a beer garden with 30 plus rotating taps. That's a hospitality ecosystem you expect in a major urban destination, not a Sunnyvale from 10 years ago. Now let's talk about what may happen over the next 3 to 5 years, which is more of a structural shift. Because Sunnyvale is about to have something rare in Silicon Valley, a genuine urban corridor. The El Camino Real development alone is bringing thousands of new housing units online. Every strip mall, every car dealership along El Camino is a candidate for a 4 to 6 story mixed use. The 777 Sunnyvale Saratoga roadside, that former Ocean Supply Hardware, it sold for $44.3 million. So what's coming out there? 162 apartments, 80 townhomes, 10 minutes from the Caltrain station. That's info redevelopment with strong conviction, because you don't spend $44 million on a former hardware store if you don't think there's a profit opportunity. Now in North Sunnyvale, the office build-out continues. Ellis Partners is demolishing 2 outdated buildings at Moffett Park Drive, and they're replacing them with 2 6-story next-generation buildings totaling 294,000 square feet. These are right next to Google's campus. So with shuttle access and 800 parking spots, and 43,000 square foot of open space, we will see likely a big company moving in. Just to give you an idea, Sunnyvale's office vacancy sits at under 15%, which is half of what Mountain View has. That gap is not an accident. Capital is flowing where employment is healthy and where companies want to be at. Now you gotta think about this if you're a homeowner or thinking about buying in Sunnyvale. When developers tear down fully functional office buildings to build larger, newer office, that's confidence. That's not speculation. That's long-term conviction that there's going to be a great employment base here. Now, quick pause. If you enjoy this content, be sure to like and subscribe, because every week we're putting stuff about things that are new, up and coming, developments here in the Bay Area, but also pro tips to help you as a buyer or seller navigate this market. Now let's get back to it. So let's talk about the property value impact, because which areas will benefit most? Let me give you the breakdown by buyer profile, because Sunnyvale is not one market, but really separated into kind of 3 core markets. If you think about the first-time buyers, under, let's say, a $1.7 million mark for, let's say, single family, you're going to be looking at North Sunnyvale, the areas like Lakewood, because they're not just close to tech campuses, they're smaller homes, more accessible to these single family pricing in the city. Now, if you're looking at, let's say, 1.7 to then $3 million, maybe schools matter a little bit more. We're talking about more of that central Sunnyvale above El Camino Real, because you're gonna get that neighborhood feel, plus proximity to that amazing downtown. Now, if you have the ability and you want the best of everything, great schools, bigger homes, south of El Camino Real is where you would go. Many of them may go into Cupertino Union schools. You got premium pricing, scarcity that only increases over time because there is no new development happening there. Now, let's talk about some areas that do have some new construction. So I just did a video, which is called The Square by Pulte Homes. That area is in the north part of Sunnyvale, closer to 101 and 237. You have Vita, which are homes built for America near Fremont Avenue, which is nearly sold out. And they might be actually done almost by now. But then you also have The Station by Toll Brothers. You can get condo flats in some of the nicest amenities. I actually just did a video on that not too long ago too. Or you can also get some fantastic townhomes with rooftop decks here. Now, I do want to share what sellers need to know. Because if you own a single family home in Sunnyvale, you're going to be in excellent shape now and long term, because demand from tech workers is completely outpacing new construction, and eventually people want to get into a single family home. That's not changing. Days on market for these well-priced homes, it's going to be a week. The only ones that stay on the market longer than a week are completely overpriced. For condo and townhome owners though, you got to be realistic about expectations, because as you can see, all of these are going to be new supply that's going to be coming along El Camino Real and the Cityline. And that's all real. It could be new supply from a rental perspective too. Appreciation is going to be slower and very modest for that property type. But that being said, if it got you out of renting and into ownership, that was still likely the right move. Just price accordingly and work with someone like me who tracks the actual comps that can get your home sold quickly and at the best price possible. Now, there is a downside that is always worth naming when it comes to construction. Definitely long-term Sunnyvale residents, I'm sure you may be flaming in my comments soon, they're concerned about density. Of course, I hear it. Is El Camino Real going to ruin the suburban character of the city? Now here's my honest answer. El Camino area never had really great suburban character anyways. It was like old strip malls, these kind of janky places. You have some car dealerships. They all look like pretty ran down. The new mixed-use development is a genuine upgrade in walkability and urban design, and the established single-family neighborhoods, they're going to be staying exactly as they are. In fact, they're going to become more valuable as Sunnyvale has more things for people to do around there. Scarcity of the old is what drives demand when the new people flood in. Now, looking ahead, I think Sunnyvale becomes increasingly unrecognizable from the previous self. You're gonna have a genuine urban corridor along El Camino Real with thousands of transit-oriented residents. You're gonna have world-class downtown that's continue to be anchored by these incredible companies like Databricks, CrowdStrike, and the companies that will follow them. You have downtown Sunnyvale, Murphy Avenue as a destination, not just for local Sunnyvale residents, but for anyone that wants some good food. You're gonna have single-family neighborhoods that are protected and premium precisely because of their scarcity. You have those infrastructure improvements, bike lanes, Caltrain improvements, the street redesigns will make this city feel entirely different by 2030. That Cityline project was incredible and massive and took a long time to do, but look at what it has done now with the downtown. Now, unfortunately, at the same time, Sunnyvale used to be that Silicon Valley's affordable option, but that narrative ended a long time ago. The gap between Sunnyvale and Mountain View isn't really much of a gap anymore. This is a premium market and is still in the middle innings of its transformation. So you should be asking yourself, should you buy, should you sell? Here's how I summarize it. If you're buying, the time to move on downtown adjacent in North Sunnyvale is now, because you may want to get ahead of it before those major projects are finished and mature. Now, if you're selling a single family, the market continues to strongly favor you and you have done an incredible investment. You're going to do very well, but those that are trying to buy it, don't wait for perfect. Many of these people live in those homes for a long time, 15, 20 plus years. They're not going to do any remodel work. Be flexible, understand the layouts, understand the area, and buy into the land, which is the most important thing. Now, if you own a condo or a townhome and you're just looking to sell it, I looked at the data. Unfortunately, over the last 5-6 years, it's been relatively flat, if not a decline, depending on when exactly you got it. So when you're selling, be strategic, be mindful. Focus on why you're looking to do that move to begin with, and it still may make financial sense to then upgrade into a single family because the divide continues to be spread. And now if you're a Sunnyvale homeowner or a buyer trying to get into that area or surrounding market, we specialize and do a lot of business out in that city. Every week, we have people just like you that are finding us on YouTube and having that sit-down meeting to go over the best plan and allowing us to partner with them as their realtor of choice. So if you want to go over a game plan, my contact details are below. Find a time on the calendar and let's get going.